So, Pokemon Nuzlocks, they're a thing, and I'm gonna be totally honest, they're a thing I've never liked. I don't know. It's something about the randomly generated team that has always rubbed me the wrong way. But recently, I've been watching a few videos on people doing Nuzlocks, and they looked quite fun, so I decided to do one for myself with one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time, Omega Ruby. A Pokemon game I like so much, I actually own 2 copies of it, because it's just that much better than Alpha Sapphire. Or should I call it Beta Sapphire? Yeah, take that, Alpha Sapphire losers. Anyways, with that, allow me to explain the rules I will be going with for this Nuzlocke. And since I am a Nuzlocke virgin, I will be using the standard Nuzlocke rules. This isn't gonna be some super cool, ultra hardcore, shiny baby Pokemon only, but every trainer has Cynthia's team. Is it possible? Question mark, question mark, question mark? No. This is just gonna be a standard Nuzlocke. So the rules I'll be following are, I must catch the first Pokemon I encounter on every route, and I cannot catch another Pokemon on that route. I must name all my Pokemon. And last, but certainly not least, if one of my Pokemon faints in battle, then I must put them in the dead box, and they may never be taken out of the box ever again. But I will also be adding 2 additional rules. One of the rules will be I'll be playing on set battle mode, because playing on Switch is for poopy losers. I will also be using Species Clause, because this alleviates one of my biggest problems with Nuzlocks, that is, having an entire party of Rattata clones and Pidgey clones. And I guess I should be totally honest, this isn't technically my first Nuzlocke. I did try one when I was like 12 or something like that, but the issue I just highlighted happened where my entire team ended up being Bidoofs and Starlies, so I just kind of lost interest and gave up around the end of the first gym. I should also explain that I did play this on original hardware, and because of that, I didn't actually record any footage from my game. So this entire playthrough is going to be made up of a script I wrote while playing the game, a long play I found on the internet from a guy with a Shadow the Hedgehog profile picture, and really shitty Photoshop. So with that, our Nuzlocke begins with me giving the obligatory comment that our parents are very negligent for leaving us in the back of this moving truck. After it stops and we get out, we head into our new home, where our mother immediately orders us to go upstairs and do something that's completely pointless, because this game is no longer a Game Boy Advance game. After setting the time, we go back downstairs, where our mother ordered us to do something even worse than nothing: interact with a girl. So, we head next door, head up the stairs, and barge into the room of a 10-year-old who's changing.
May, and I'm 10 years old.
Anyways, after that awkward situation, we hear some dudes screaming. We go to check what's up, and we see him running away from a dog. We also see that he's dropped his sack, and in an attempt to rob him, we quickly try to grab it. But unfortunately, he catches us and tells us frantically to grab one of the balls that he has in his sack. We grab the ball containing the best starter for this region, Mudkip, and go to fight the dog. But when we do fight the dog, the game crashes. So, funny story. Every time I try to get into a battle of this game, my game crashes. I try resetting over and over and over again. I try turning it off and turning it back on again. I try blowing on things. Nothing works. So eventually I just give up and switch DSs, and that does work. Which I guess would make this kind of like my 5th Nuzlocke if you count all the times I had to reset. But, you know, calling this my 5th Nuzlocke really doesn't sound as appealing as my 1st Nuzlocke, so yeah, the title still stands. Anyways, back to the Nuzlocke. I choose Mudkip, because they're the best starter for this generation. Beat up the dog, and accompany this guy to his laboratory, where I get to name my Pokemon. Since my Mudkip's a female, I decide to call her my ex-wife. Apparently, I need to accompany this guy's daughter to this random pond on Route 3. So I do just that, but I make sure to train a little bit, just so this fight isn't completely equal. And I somehow accidentally lose and have to reset. So I beat up May, we return to the lab, and I finally get my balls. Which means I can finally catch my first Pokemon. I go to the first route, and by this point, after all the resetting and stuff, I forgot I was even playing a Nuzlock. So I kill the first Zigzagoon. After passing over Route 1, I finally remember I'm playing a Nuzlock and think, oh, fuck. And contemplate resetting. I decide not to, and it's early enough that I just decide I'll break the rules this one time. Just this one time. And go back to Route 1 and catch myself a Zigzagoon, which I name Goonzagoon. Now, is this entire Nuzlocke completely invalid because I had to do a run back on catching a Zigzagoon? I'll let you decide. And anyways, I go to Route 2 and catch myself a Poochyena, which I name Poopiana. And you know what? I'm feeling pretty excited. It's been a long time, longer than it really should have been, since I've played a game in the Hoenn region. So I'm really excited to get the chance to use some cool Hoenn Pokemon, like Shroomish and Nincada. I head to Route 3, hoping to get a Wurmple, because if I can get a Wurmple, that means I'm guaranteed to get Shroomish in the forest. Shroomish in the forest. I run into the first patch of grass I can, and encounter a Seedot. Oh. Okay, whatever. I guess Shroomish is out of the question. So I move on to Route 4, ignoring my father, in hopes to catch myself a Tailo, which will guarantee me catching an Nincada. On Route 4, I run into the first grass I can find, and Wingull. Okay, whatever. I named my Seedot Nuzlocke, and I named my Wingull Gallbladder. And if you're wondering, yes, I did catch the worm in the forest, and the Tailo on Route whatever Nincada's on, I don't fucking care. Which I call Disappointment the Worm, and Galo the Tailo. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because we actually have our first death in the game. And that is Nuzlocke, who's killed by the Poochyena of the Team Magma Grunt you fight in the forest. After I defeat him, I leave the forest, enter Rustboro City, and immediately exit Rustboro City to Route 116. I pass Route 116, hoping to not encounter any Pokemon, and enter Rustboro Cave, where I catch a Whismur I name Chuggaconroy. I leave Rustboro Cave, catch Galo, and then Disappointment dies, surprisingly enough, disappointingly, to a random trainer on Route 116. Whatever, there's probably a bad omen in calling him Disappointment anyways. So I return to Rustboro City and destroy Roxanne with absolutely no casualties because of my ex-wife. That Teak Magma Grunt steals Pico, I retrieve Pico, and Steven Stone's dad makes me Steven's Aggron boy. The old dude whose Pico I saved gives me a free boat ride to Dewfort City, where I get myself the Old Rod, which I use to catch 2 new Pokemon. In Dewfort Town, I catch myself a Magikarp, which I call Gary Douche, and on Route 107, I catch myself a Tentacool, which I call Splatoon Hentai, or Spatoon Hentai, because Splatoon Hentai doesn't fit. After I catch those 2 Pokemon, I enter the fighting gym to fight Brawly. Now, I always have problems with Brawly. I don't know about you, but Brawly for some reason always rolls me. But this time I have a strategy, and that is to use Spatoon Hentai to set up toxic spikes and then destroy him with my ex-wife. And this plan goes just as intended, as Brawly goes down with no issues and no casualties. I then enter Granite Cave, where I encounter a Zubat, a female Zubat, which I call Batwoman. I also talk to Steven, give him whatever his dad wanted to give him. He says some weird stuff to me, and I leave Dewfort and head to Slateport. We leave Slateport as quickly as we entered Slateport and head to Route 110, where I catch myself a Manetric that I call Shocker! I return to Slateport and completely forget how to trigger the museum story event. After running around for a few minutes like a chicken with my head cut off, I eventually remember where to go and what to do. I do what I gotta do, enter the museum, get thief from a thief, and beat at the two magma grunts who harass this old dude for some reason. And then the leader of Team Magma walks up, tells me that I terrify him, and they leave. After our first interaction with the best Pokemon villain, Don't At Me, I leave the museum and get roped into some weird publicity stunt by Hatsune Miku, where I am forced to do a Pokemon contest. I accept and recruit my ex-wife, who wins the cuteness contest with the cutest move known to man, Water Gun. And for winning my first contest, I get a Pikachu with a jacket. I call it a Pikachud. The West has fallen. Millions must die. After getting through Slateport and the fighting gym with no casualties, I'm feeling pretty good. And I know that Watson should be a pretty easy sweep with my ex-wife. So on Route 110, I'm feeling good. Feeling, you might even say, a little cocky. But this good feeling is immediately put in the shitter when I encounter May. So,
I'm 10 years old.
My team going into May consists of my ex-wife, Chugga Conroy, Gallbladder, Splatoon Hentai, Gary Douche, and Batwoman. So in the fight, I annihilate May's first two Pokemon, and then she sends out Sceptile. Since Chugga Conroy is my only non-water type, I decide to send him out and use Echoed Voice. It does decent damage, and Sceptile doesn't really do much damage. It's about a free hit kill for both of us, so I'm planning on just whenever the next hit happens to switch him out for someone else and then kill him. But, what's this? Sceptile gets a critical hit, and Chugga Conroy dies. Well, that's fine, whatever. I send out Gallbladder to get a revenge kill. And then I accidentally hit Water Gun instead of Wing Attack. And Gallbladder dies. So now I'm kind of panicking. Because while I do have Batwoman, Batwoman is very underleveled at this point. And so is Gary Douche, who is still a Magikarp. So my only option is Splatoon Hentai. I send out Splatoon Hentai, and they manage to get the kill. But it's really not good. Like half of my team that was an appropriate level just got annihilated in one fight. After the deaths of two of my highest leveled Pokemon, I kind of have to fill the gap with the highest leveled Pokemon in my box at the moment, who just so happens to be Pikachud. Pikachud, bringing great shame and dishonor to my team. I decide I need to quickly right this wrong and quickly go and evolve Gary Douche into a Gyarados. Though, despite this, and the fact that I have my ex-wife who should completely stomp Watson, I am for some reason feeling a little worried about the fight. And because of this, I go to Route 17, hoping to catch a certain Pokemon. And I do catch that certain Pokemon, my favorite Pokemon of all time, Oddish. It's a male Oddish, I catch it, and I name him Goku. So with Goku at my side, I am now feeling much more capable to defeat Watson. So with that being said, I head into Watson's gym and completely annihilate him with my ex-wife. No surprise there, I was just being a little bit paranoid. I move on from Maulville City to Route 111, where I massacre a family and catch myself a Geodude, which I call Hardman. I move on then to Route 112, where I catch myself a Numel I call Cumhole. and I replace Pikachu with Cumhole.
I'm gonna come.
I enter the fiery path and catch myself a Torkoal, which I call Twerkle. But in the fiery path, tragedy strikes, as Splatoon Hentai dies to a random Numel that I encountered using magnitude 10. Of course, he got like the 5% chance to hit a fucking magnitude 10. I was kind of fucking angry about this one. Tentacruel is a very underrated Pokemon that's like really, really good. And it's kind of a shame that it just kind of had to die to some random fucking Numel. I was also planning on using Splatoon Hentai to defeat Norman with the power of Toxic Spike Cheese. But, you know, it's whatever. I got Numel. Numel's a pretty good Pokemon. And it instantly dies when I send it out against a Trapinch that a random trainer has.
Do not come.
No.
Do not
This
come.
can't be.
Which means that, once again, out of process of elimination, Pikachu is put back on to the team because there is nobody else in my box who is even close to level 20. Anyways, I finally make it to Route 113, and I don't get a Skarmory. But at the same time, on the bright side, I don't get a Spinda either. I get myself a Sandshrew, which is, you know, pretty good. I call it Sandscrew. I move through Fatal Boar Town to Route 114, where I catch myself a Swablu that I call I Am Blue Dab. I also decide to put Hardman on my team, as I finally figure out what's wrong with my other DS and get it working again, which means that I can evolve Hardman really quickly into Golem, who is a pretty solid Pokemon, despite the horrifying weaknesses it has. Anyways, I enter Meteor Falls and encounter Tabitha, who I immediately beat the ever-living shit out of, take back that guy's rocks or something, and head up to the volcano to fight Maxie. During the fight with Maxie, nobody dies, but something really funny happens, or at least something that I found really funny happened. Maxie's Mightyena uses Roar, which switches out the Pokemon who is last in my party. That Pokemon just so happened to be Pikachu. This is Pikachu's first fight ever, and for whatever reason, I decided to make Pikachu a trad Catholic conquistador. And by that I mean I changed him to Lucho Libre Pikachu. And Lucho Libre Pikachu knows Flying Press, so I think, oh great, Lucho Libre Pikachu, it's got Flying Press. He should be able to destroy Mightyena in like 2 hits or something, despite being like 2 levels under him. I use Flying Press and it does about 1/5 of Mightyena's health, and then Mightyena uses like Bite or something and does like 70% of Pikachu's health. So I quickly switch out Pikachu for my ex-wife, who proceeds to stomp Maxie. After Maxie gets stomped, I run down Jagged Pass and catch myself a Machop, who I call Chadius Maximus, or just Chad Max for short. I enter Lava Ridge Town, receive an egg.
You will give me an egg.
And then proceed to destroy Flannery with my giant snake. After Flannery comes Norman, who will be a significant challenge due to his 2 Slackings, who have ridiculous attack stats. But Norman can be cheesed if you get the move Protect, and that's why I tried training up Torkoal. Only thing is that apparently my ex-wife learns Protect at level 32, so instead of training up Torkoal, I just get my ex-wife to level 32, return to Petalburg, and then proceed to absolutely destroy Norman. After defeating Norman, I acquired the HM Surf, which opens up plenty of things to do. So with that, the first thing I do is head to New Mallville, where I happen to encounter a Magnemite, which I call Mega Man, and replace Hardman. I then get the Good Rod, and then head to Route 109, where I catch myself a Wailmer, who I was tempted to call my ex-wife, but you know, having two my ex-wife jokes just kind of seemed a little boring. So instead I called them humongous.
Humongous what? Humongous what?
With all my faffing out of the way, I finally decide to head to Route 119, but I am stopped by Steven, that weird guy from the cave, who proceeds to kidnap me and take me to some small secluded island with nobody around. I attempt to elude my captor, only to run into Latios, whose girlfriend was complicit in my kidnapping. And if things can't get any worse, suddenly Team Magma shows up with this weird pink-haired lady. And now I must defeat Team Magma for the entertainment of Latios.
No. Don't do this. Don't do this. Now it's overhead belly to belly toss.
Slurp. Slurp? After the fight, Team Magma leaves, and Latios thought I was so incredibly cool, he decides to join my team. I call Latios never going to use and throw him into the box because using legendaries is poo-poo. I also gained the ability to mega evolve my Pokemon, and I decided to have a little rule about mega evolutions, which is I can use them. However, if the mega goes over 600, then I am no longer allowed to use them, as I will be counting that as like a legendary or something. Anyways, I eventually escape the clutches of Steven Stone and return to the mainland. And after that interesting time, I decide to start super training Hardman, despite the fact that I've taken Hardman off the team. You may be wondering why I'm doing this, but it is not in fact to EV train him. It is in fact to get to the final boss, so I may get a Sunstone early, so I can evolve Goku. I wander into Route 123, and quickly realize that I really shouldn't be here when the first trainer I encounter has a level 38 Vileplume, who is 2 levels above my highest level Pokemon, my ex-wife. Though, luckily, Batwoman completely walls the thing, and I quickly dispatch them. However, I'm not waiting around to see some random Pokemon that can sweep my entire team, so I quickly leave. And finally head to Route 119, only to turn back immediately because Mega Man evolves into a Magneton, which means I gotta go all the way back to New Malville to evolve him into a Magnezone. Once I reach Route 119, I'm so excited that I decide to start drinking a super potion, but it has odd effects, and when I wake up, I find myself under a bridge covered in the blood of Team Magma Grunts. I look around and decide, this is a better place than I need to go fishing. And I do, and I catch myself a Feebas, and call them Spiridos, which was definitely the first Pokemon I could have encountered on this route. Nothing else of note happens on Route 119, but as I enter Treefort City, I'm hit by a new feeling. No longer saddened by the death of Splatoon Hentai and Gallbladder, I am hit with an odd feeling. You see, I've been watching a lot of Nuzlock content at this point, particularly a lot of people's first Nuzlocks. And in those first Nuzlocks, I see a pattern. The person starts out a little rocky, but eventually they get their footing, and they get confident, and then they get complacent, and then they get sloppy. And when they start getting sloppy, that's when, wham, a death in the family. But I'm hit with a different feeling, and that feeling is paranoia. I start believing that Pokemon have moves that they have no business knowing, like Thunderbolt and Counter, or they have items that they have no business having, like Focus Bands. And is that an Among Us I see? Wait, oh my god, does that mean that the Among Us imposter is here? Oh my lord, is my Omega Ruby haunted? What's that in the distance? Is that Hero Brian? Oh lord almighty, Herobrine is here. Herobrine is the Among Us imposter, and he's giving people focus bands. Huh? What's that, Mega Man?
Put on notice if you fuck around with us.
okay.
If you do something bad to us,
Okay.
we are going to do things
So,
to you that
I've
have
just been
never
informed
done.
of some very interesting information. So, apparently, Herobrine is in fact an asset for Satan-worshipping Democrats who are trying to use 5G towers to make everybody gay. Source? Bro, trust me. My Magnazone told me. All of this goofy stuff to say that, despite being overleveled for Winona, despite having Pokemon like Magnazone and Gyarados that could destroy Winona, I don't quite feel confident that I can win. Do you see her Talo? It has the infamous Quick Attack Endeavor strategy. That thing could sweep my entire team, probably. I cautiously move on to the next route, where I catch myself a Cuckleon and get the Demon Scope so I can enter the Flying Gym. And I immediately shit myself when I come up against a Swellow with Double Team. Luckily, I kill it and move through the gym with no issues. Reaching Winona. She sends out her first Pokemon, Swellow, and I switch out Mega Man. And I make the stupidest decision I could ever make in my life, and use Spark, which leaves Swellow around 1 HP. It's happening. I can't believe it. It's fucking happening. Luckily, Winona made the dumb decision to use Quick Attack and then heal on the second turn. So, I ain't fucking around in that second turn. I use Volt Switch and annihilate it, switching into Gyarados afterwards, to which Winona switches out Pelipper. I use Ice Fang on Pelipper, hoping to get some flinches or a freeze. And luckily for me, I get both. And Pelipper goes down with no problems. She then switches into Skarmory, to which I switch back into Mega Man and laser that thing with Volt Switch again. Switching back into Gyarados for her last Pokemon, Altaria, whose face I bite off with Ice Fang. Continuing on to Route 120, where I get a heart attack when Goku is hit by an Ice Fang. Though, surprisingly enough, it only does like a fourth of their health, which I was not expecting. I also, for a joke, try to catch Heatran, though unfortunately Heatran cannot be caught until you defeat Groudon. Moving on to Route 121, I enter the Safari Zone and catch myself a Psyduck, which I call Yellow Duck. Not my best name. On Route 121, I also caught a Shuppet and name it Tent. I enter Lily Cove City and attempt to reach the department store, but am ambushed by May. This is when I realize that, for this moment right now, my Pokemon are underleveled, except for Goku. But luckily for me, May's team in this fight is just fucking garbage. I mean, look at her Sceptile. Slam and Dual Chop. Fucking Slam and Dual Chop, really? And choosing Mudkip means that she doesn't have access to Breloom, who is definitely the best out of Wailord and Macargo. I sweep her aside pretty easily. I forgot that before you can take on the Team Magma base, you need to go to Mount Pyre. So I just kind of start randomly walking around Lily Cove City. I enter the museum and the fan club, and this gives me the inspiration to start taking on Pokemon contests. Yes, I've taken a break out of my Nuzlock to start doing Pokemon contests. I look for the Pokemon I have left and decide to choose Poopyana and go for the toughness competition. Poopyana has some great moves for toughness like Tackle, Bite, Rock Smash, and Thief. We do good. And we also somehow managed to get ourselves into a weird love triangle with Hatsune Miku and this fucking douchebag over here. Even Poopyana gets themselves into a love triangle between an Altaria and a Machamp. But eventually, after enough trials and tribulation, we become the masters of toughness. And quickly leave before that love triangle can explode into anything violent. Also, speaking of contests, I decided to take this time and evolve Sparados. I also decide, out of respect, to change Pupiana's name to just Anna. I head to Mount Pyre, grab a dust skull, which I call Bad to the Bone, scale the mountain, beat up Courtney, funny, and Maxie decides to run away. Which means I now need to go to Slateport to try to stop Maxie from stealing a submarine. I fail miserably at this task, and for my effort, Mega Man gets hit by an Earth power. Big oof. I enter Team Magnum's base and attempt to catch an electrode. Unfortunately, it uses self-destruct, and for that, I must beat up a bunch of level 18 Buccianas.
We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
In the distance, I can see the pink-haired anime waifu, and quickly try to slip past her, because I'm pretty sure that there's a TM behind her that's pretty good. It turns out it's just the exit, and she starts talking to me. She says some stuff, yada yada yada, she's gonna analyze me or something. So I decide to let her analyze my giant snake, who absolutely annihilates her holes.
Change the world. My final message. Goodbye.
I say adios to Lily Cove City and head to Moss Deep, only to realize that the gym leaders there are way higher level than I am. So because of this, I leave to go train my Pokemon. I first head to Shoal Cave, and immediately leave because it's low tide, and I do not want to risk catching a Glalie. So then I try to head to Victory Road, believing that that is where I get Waterfall. It's not, I need to head to Satopolis, which I can't access, for now. I beat up the rest of the trainers on the way to Pacific Log Town, where I get a bunch of TMs that I'm never gonna use. I also get this trade offer to trade Goku for Corsola, but I'm gonna decline that offer. I ride down the rapid routes a few times, and level up all my Pokemon, so they're equal to Taint and Liza. Returning to Moss Deep City, I challenge the gym, and after getting confused like 50 times, I finally reach Taint and Lizard. Their fight is a very unique fight. It's the only main fight in the game that's a double battle, and for it, I use Goku and Mega Man against their Solrock and Lunatone. To start off the battle, Solrock sets up Sunny Day, and Lunatone sets up Light Screen. I decide to team up on Lunatone first, and destroy him with the power of Goku and Mega Man.
Let's say China.
And on the next turn, because Solrock set up Cunny Day, Goku gets the outspeed. And Oko Solrock. When I exit the gym, a giant superhero laser shoots out of the ground, and I'm approached by my former kidnapper, who informs me that he is currently in contact with 2 minors before taking me to his house and slipping me the D. I quickly run away from Steven and do the only logical thing after seeing a giant laser come out of the sea, and that is go to the Shoal Cave to catch myself a Celio, which I call Franz Joseph. I also head to a bunch of underwater routes, where I catch these Pokemon in no particular order. A Clamperl I call Balls in Yo Jaw, a Chinchou, which I call Soda, and a Relicanth, which I call Old Fish. Before finally getting around to checking out that whole laser coming out of the sea thing, and entering the Seafloor Cave. After exploring the Seafloor Cave, I finally catch up to Maxie, who has somehow managed to defeat Archie. I mean seriously, look at his team. He doesn't even have a stab move. I mean, at least Archie's Sharpedo has Strong Jaw Crunch and no water moves. Probably be a little bit helpful against the guy who uses rock ground types, but oh well, whatever. Anyways, since he doesn't have any fire type moves, Mega Man basically walls his entire team. So I use Mega Man to beat him up, except for Camerupt, who I use Blossom to beat up for shits and giggles.
Now say you're sorry!
shower yet? I think I peed a little.
Despite beating Maxie in the battle, he manages to revive Groudon anyways, which was his plan. I don't think I mentioned that up to this point, but yeah. He manages to revive the super ancient Pokemon, and surprise, surprise, everything goes to shit. And for some reason, it's up to me, a random 10-year-old, to save the world. Luckily, I have the most powerful weapon to save the world, a Pokeball. I throw it at Groudon, bam, boom, bingle, I catch him, name him Steve! No relations. And the world is saved. We get a cutscene of everyone being happy, the end. During the happy ending cutscene, I get the fly flute, and once it's over, I head to the water gym. And, well, how do you think it goes down? Goku and Mega Man basically just destroy everything, and make pretty quick work of Wallace. The only thing of note that happens is this weird glitch, where Goku takes damage from an attack before the animation's actually finished, which puts the fear of God in me, because I thought for some reason Goku would take like double damage from the attack. They would have lived, but you know, it would have just... Defeating Wallace gives us Waterfall, the last HM we need, which means I can finally have a reliable physical water type move I can put on my ex-wife and Gary Douche. And since I have Waterfall, that means it's Pokemon League time, which more importantly means it's time to faff about for like 5 days. My first decision is to head to Meteor Falls to finally catch the Pokemon I was trying to get there. I go in there, get to the Salamence room, and encounter a Solrock. God fucking damn it. And I decide to kill Solrock because fuck Solrock. Feeling a bit angered about not getting my goddamn Salamander, I decide to take on Victory Road with nothing to lose. I beat up every trainer without taking a single loss, that includes Wally.
Hey, it's me, Goku!
And make it to the Pokemon League. But after seeing the levels of the champion, I decide that training would probably be the best option. But before the training can begin, I do the Maulville and C. Maulville quests. Also in C. Maulville, I catch myself a Spiritomb, which I call Sussy. And by doing these two quests, I get myself good TMs like Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. And after a very long and boring training arc where I basically just found as many trainers as I could find and beat the ever-living shit out of them, I'm finally ready to take on the Pokemon League. Now, let me introduce you to my Pokemon for the Pokemon League. To start off, we have my ex-wife, the Swampert, level 62. Her moves are Rock Slide, Earthquake, Waterfall, and Protect. Well, my ex-wife may have not had a lot to do in the later parts of the game. She was an integral part to my success in the early to mid game. And she'll be very, very important in case shit really hits the fan against Steven, as her being a ground type means that she's an excellent match for Steven's entire team, basically. For my next Pokemon, that is Goku, the Blossom, level 65, with maximum hearts on Pokemon Me. He knows the moves: Leaf Blade, Dazzling Gleam, Toxic, and Stun Spore. I have Goku on my team, purely because I like them. While I do have a tactical reason to have them on there, that being that since they're such a high level, I've trained their EVs in defense, special defense, and HP, and with no quad weaknesses, means that they'll basically be able to take any hit that the Elite Four can throw at them. That's not really important. The real important thing is that they're on the team because I like them. They're the team mascot. Gary Douche, level 61. He knows the moves: Waterfall, Crunch, Ice Fang, and Dragon Dance. Gary Douche is the key member of my team. Dragon Dance is like the best move in the game, other than maybe, Quiver Dance, which unfortunately Goku doesn't get this generation. So, Gary Douche's incredible bulk, due to his high special defense and Intimidate, as well as the ability to boost both his speed and attack, makes him an absolute monster, and the Pokemon that I've anchored my entire strategy around. I'll roll up to the first Pokemon, spam out a bunch of dragon dances, and then proceed to beat the ever-living shit out of the Elite Four. And, well, hopefully that works. Batwoman.
It will be.
Level 61.
When it
She
gets
knows the
on.
moves: Acrobatics, Confuse Ray, U-Turn, and Fly. Batwoman, much like Goku, doesn't really have anything to do in the Elite Four. However, she may prove a very useful pivot if I, for whatever reason, come up against any ground and or grass type moves in the Elite Four. With her oppressive bulk and amazing speed, she may prove a useful tool to switch in to a powerful move. Mega Man,
And we
the
will
Magnazone,
make America great
level 60.
again.
It's... they? They know the moves Volt Switch, Discharge, Flash Cannon, and Dry Attack. Mega Man is an incredibly important team member. Not only are they very, very, very bulky, because I put lots of EVs into their HP and defenses, they're also my only answer to the Ice-type Elite Four member, who half of my team is weak to. With great resistances and great bulk, and being my only truly good special attacker, Mega Man will probably be a very important team member for the Elite Four. And finally, the last Pokemon I have decided to put on my team is I'm Blue Dab, the Altaria, level 60. He knows the moves: Dragon Pulse, Moonblast, Perish Song, and Flamethrower. Since I was unable to acquire myself a salamander, I'm Blue Dab will have to do. But he isn't a horrible replacement, as in Pokemon Omega Ruby, I'm Blue Dab has the ability to Mega Evolve. Now, I know what you're thinking. Technically, I could Mega Evolve Swampert and Gyarados, and they'd probably be better Megas for me. However, since I've decided I can't use any Pokemon with a base stat above 600, and Mega Swampert and Mega Gyarados would definitely have a base stat over 600, I've decided I can't use them. But I'm Blue Dab has a very, very lovely base stat of 590. Very solid indeed. And with the excellent fairy typing, it makes them good against two members of the Elite Four. And you add Flamethrower on that mech, the chances of the Elite Four winning drastically decreases, as Moonblast Flamethrower is super effective against all but one of the Elite Four members, and the champion. However, Altaria is also my only Pokemon who is weak to more than one of the Elite Four members, sometimes. The fairy typing is a very, very strategic thing, and I must know when to use it and when not to use it. AKA, I probably shouldn't Mega Evolve him when fighting Steven, if it comes to that, of course. I also carry Perish Song, if in the crazy scenario that Altaria is my last hope and I have to do a great sacrifice play. So that's my team heading into the Elite Four. Hopefully things go well. I'm feeling pretty good about it, but not that good. And out of a little bit of fear, I buy 100 full restores and 100 max potions. Just in case the scenario occurs where I have to PP stall a Pokemon to death. I head in and encounter the first Elite Four member, Sydney. And my strategy is, send out Gyarados, Dragon Dance, and kill. But unfortunately, Sydney's Mightyena knows swagger. But I have given Gyarados a Lumberry. And of course, when Sydney's Mightyena does use swagger, I get a free attack boost, which is pretty nice. The battle goes just as planned. With the only real notable thing happening is that Gyarados took far more damage than I thought he would. But other than that, Sydney went down with no issues. But, Ghost Lady is gonna be a different challenge entirely. You see, her first Pokemon, her first Duskull, knows Confuse Ray and Curse, which are going to be quite annoying. So, once again for Gary Douche, who is gonna be my strategy again, I'm gonna have to give him a Lumberry. But it's not just that, as she has a Dusknoir with Thunder Punch. And now I've done the calculations, and one Dragon Dance should be enough for me to kill her entire team. However, if her Duskull has a defensive nature, as well as gets a critical hit, and I do bad damage range, there is a chance, a very, very slight chance, however a chance nonetheless, that Duskull can one-shot kill Gary Douche. And despite that chance being astronomically tiny, it terrifies me. So the battle starts. She sends out her Dusclops, I send out Gary Douche. I set up one Dragon Dance, she uses Confuse Ray. I get rid of the first Dusclops. Then immediately after, she sends out her Dusknoir with Thunder Punch. I was not expecting that to happen. I use Waterfall, and luckily, no issues happen. Dusknoir dies instantly. I breathe a sigh of relief, only to almost immediately die to her Sableye, who uses Foul Play on me, and does massive damage. Whoops. Anyways, I kill that little gremlin. I also kill her last two Pokemon with no issues, defeating the Ghost Hula Lady. I enter Glacia's chamber with the exact same strategy, and it should be pretty easy. Her first Pokemon's Glalie, who cannot do dick or shit to Gary Douche. The only thing I'm really scared about in this battle is her Wall Rain with Sheer Cold, which I know is a famously unreliable move. However, it's the exact stupid bullshit that I'm afraid of killing me. Things right off the bat of this battle go very poorly for me. I forget to restore PP on Dragon Dance, so I don't have any of them left, as well as no more Waterfall. And her Glalie also gets up 2 defense levels against me with a Crunch. But thanks to the power of Ethers, I'm able to get out all my Dragon Dances and completely destroy her. After the battle, I put Earthquake on Gary Douche like I was supposed to, and head to the last Elite Four member, with, of course, the exact same strategy. This time it should be even easier, because Drayden's first Pokemon, Dragon Guy's first Pokemon is Altaria, whose only attacks are special attack, which Gyarados can take very easily. The thing I'm worried about in this battle is his Salamander with Thunder Fang. However, enough Dragon Dances and I should be able to easily outspeed and kill. However, I realized something while fighting Altaria, and that is that Ice Fang only has 95 accuracy, which means there is a chance of missing. And because of that, I decided to do something I have never done in my entire life, and that is use an X accuracy. Anyways, with that, Ice Fang, I completely destroy his team.
Your utility belt was too exact.
Really, other than Salamence, there's nothing that could have even touched me. I mean, seriously, one of his Flygons knows Supersonic. I mean, what the fuck? And finally, we have reached the champion of the Elite Four. Now, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Ultra Sapphire are pretty easy for the most part. Most of the gym leaders are a significant downgrade to what they were in Pokemon Emerald. But Steven Stone is a little different. You see, Steven Stone is one of the few actually difficult battles in the entire game. And of course he comes at the very end. To list some of the problematic members of his team, we have a Spike Setting, Toxic Stalling Skarmory, an Aggron with Sturdy, who loves to use Stone Edge, and the most terrifying thing of all, Mega Metagross. With a 700 base stat, Mega Metagross is the third most powerful Pokemon you will ever face in a Pokemon game. Only beaten out by a Pokemon that is the literal apocalypse, and a Pokemon who is responsible for consuming the light of multiple universes. So, saying that Mega Metagross is a dangerous Pokemon is a little bit of an understatement. While I am hyping up Mega Metagross a lot, my actual fear lies with Aggron, because an Aggron Stone Edge has the potential to one-shot Gary Douche with a critical hit. And my only way around this critical hit is by giving Gary Douche a Rock Berry. So I give him the Rock Berry, of course, take one last look at my team, and enter Steven's chamber. This song starts playing that I cannot for the life of me remember ever playing, and I finally confront my kidnapping stalker. He sends out his Skarmory, who is the entire reason why I brought so many full
Champion of the
restorers.
Pokemon League without knowing how to spam full
I
restores.
get all my attack boosts and speed boosts. I even use a X defense and kill Steven's Skarmory, and then Steven sends out Aggron. Now, I'm still a little bit worried at this point because I'm not sure if a berry blocks the effect of a critical hit or not. I'm pretty sure it does, but not 100%. So there's still maybe a possibility that Gary Douche gets one hit killed. There's also the possibility that he just misses. I use Earthquake, take him all the way down to 1 health, and he uses Stone Edge, which proceeds to do 69 damage to me. Well, I would like to say afterwards I absolutely annihilated his Aggron, Steven actually mixes me. He sends in Claydolly and gets the immunity to my Earthquake. But it doesn't matter. Claydolly goes down, Aggron goes down, Armando and that guy, Penis Monster, also go down. And Steven's down to his last Pokemon. What I have in my notes, the Abomination Without Name, is sent out. And after checking about 150 times to make absolute sure that Aggron doesn't have Levitate, I instantly kill him. Well, that was boring. I mean, I did all that training for nothing. I become the Pokemon champion in the most boring way humanly imaginable. I get congratulated by Professor Bitch and May, who is denied access into the champion room for being a woman.
Women!
I register myself the new champion of the Hoenn League and quickly get out of there, as I do not trust being in a room alone with Steven Stone. As I exit the room, May promises that we'll finish together. Her words, not mine. As the credits begin to roll, I look back on my adventure and I think, wow, I can't believe that more of my Pokemon died to random Pokemon I encountered in the bush. May and the first Team Magma Grunt then died in any of the important boss fights. Though I can look on the bright side that at least my entire team contributed throughout the entire game, except for I'm Blue Dab, who didn't do jack fucking or shit and was just a humongous waste of time. Anyways, we finally reach our destination, the small pond where May and I had our first battle, and we—
I'm 10 years old!
You want to explain yourself? Grab that towel right there, please. What are you doing?
We have a Pokemon battle. Yes, a Pokemon battle. I was under the assumption we were going to have a Pokemon battle. But as I look at May's team, I realize something. Her Swellow has U-turn. And she has a Raichu, which means I can't just boost on her first Pokemon because Raichu would kill Gary Douche. Holy shit, I actually have to use a different Pokemon for once. So I decide to switch it to Goku, who immediately gets paralyzed, and then unparalyzed, thanks to Pokemon. So I spam out as many double teams as I possibly can, turning Goku into Ultra Instinct Goku, who shakes off another paralysis and completely destroys Raichu with Swellow. He also gets a critical hit on May's Wailord and Macargo, thanks to Pokemon Elite. Again, finally, May's last Pokemon, Mega Sceptile. He surprisingly takes quite a bit to go down, because Raichu actually set up a light screen. But thanks to Goku, Ultra Instinct, he is able to dodge all three of the incoming X's and completely annihilate him with Dazzling Gleam. And that's it. That is the end of our Pokemon Omega Ruby adventure. Also, I'm not doing the Delta episode because be quite honest, fuck the Delta episode. But yeah, that's the story of my first Nuzlock. A bit easier of a time than I thought I would have. But at the same time, I guess Omega Ruby and Ultra Sapphire are pretty easy games. While they may not be perfect remakes, they still hold a very special place in my heart, as they were the games where I discovered how to play Pokemon competitively. You know, I had a friend, we used to sit around at lunch making competitive teams, battling, and you know, just having a good time. So despite the game's flaws as a remake, I still enjoy it quite a bit. If I ever were to do another Nuzlocke, I'll probably do a hardcore Nuzlocke because, I don't know, a Nuzlocke is a bit easy. And I have a game that I definitely want to Nuzlocke next, and that would be Pokemon X and Y, which are really easy, so, you know, how bad can a hardcore Nuzlocke be on them, like, really? But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to dislike it, to flag a comment in the comment section, and report this video for disturbing and/or sexual content. Thanks for watching, and you can go fuck yourself.